Hello everyone, good morning. At 7:15 Wellington, New Zealand. How many of you from New Zealand? Okay, I'm the only one. How many of you would like to visit New Zealand? There we go. Okay, right. So there will be a quiz program at the end of this, my presentation. If you answer, you'll get a free ticket to the Lord of the Rings movie. Okay, right. Okay, so thanks very much for folks. So I'll stand. This is the position I marked actually because when the gentleman was still. So thanks very much. And my topic is how to overcome the enterprise disconnect with value stream and flow metrics. So let me figure this out first. Yeah, that works. Okay, this is my actual title for this. And the chain indicates that it's broken in an enterprise. And my name is BMK Lakshminarayanan, and I'm a DevOps and flow enthusiast. And I'm a great fan of some of you folks who are assembled here. I'm going to ask 3 questions throughout my presentation. So please, you can write down the answer on your notebook or think about it. You don't need to share with anybody, but after the presentation, just reflect upon that. That's it. So this is the first question. What's your role in your current organization? Right. Now, my name is BMK. I work for, I'm an independent now, but I work for a company as a contractor called Section 6, and we build mission-critical software for mission-critical organizations. And what I care, I mean, of course, Google Slides have messed up my link, the alignments. Don't worry about that. So what I care about is developer experience, DevOps, and community and architecture and value stream. And I'm associated with some of the global institutions, so that's how I'm connected with Value Stream Management Consortium as well. Right, so my flow for the day is this. The science of the disconnect, the impacts of the disconnect, the state of the enterprise disconnect, and then how to overcome with that. And you know the answer already. But what I'm going to paint the picture is about the real problem that we have in the first 2. The science of the disconnect in most other organizations, you are familiar, and the list might go like a laundry list because you have certain number of issues in the organization. The business is different, IT is different, as everybody knows. I worked for so many years for a bank, and I worked for previous organization. All my role, I've seen that business is always different to IT, though IT is powering the business, but there is always actually an annual budget where the limit is fixed, and nobody can get fund for any initiatives on time. There are always priorities, and there are overwhelming metrics, and then there is a strategy. And sometimes the execution of the organization doesn't align with the strategy, and strategy without execution is useless, and execution without strategy is aimless. So we see that often, business blaming the technology and technology blaming back to the business, given that the things are changing. Then I carried on and I said, like, we did some of the work around what are the disconnects in technology that we see. If you have worked and from a background of like me, who have been end user, filling a lot of documents for architecture governance, for design governance, for change management, for operational requirements, you always turn to fill a lot of documents and templates. And there is a committee to approve a lot of things. And these committees, they meet on significant timelines, like investment council, the monthly meeting, architecture governance, maybe once in fortnight, and your change management once in a month. So though the continuous delivery in enterprise in a good state with all those things. And a lot of the time, our people, they always search for information. And searching for information, like, Brian was talking about 90,000 developers. I'm really amazed because New Zealand is a very small country, and very, very small country. But we have the same problem as you. So it means the same problem and size for our small organization is much more larger. Searching for information is always fun in the things. So we did a bit of research, and we found out that we turned to spend around $10 to $12 million only in searching for information in enterprise. And even if you search, actually, you don't get the reliable data. You would like to know who is supporting that particular credit decisioning system in your enterprise for lending for your bank, your customers. Then you find out that Steve is actually the person. Then I found out, woohoo, I can go and talk to Steve. And I found out that Steve left the bank 2 years before. Okay? So most of the time, you don't even get to know where the documents. And there is a new developer onboarded. The developer is trying to set up his development mission. It's really funny, okay? Because it takes close to 4 to 6 weeks to onboard a developer in an enterprise organization. If you imagine that after 6 weeks he will be productive, no. Then he'll be waiting for his access to the Bitbucket or a GitHub or whatever it is. And there are at least 72 different pages how to set up your development mission in the organization. Because every time when you follow somebody's documentation, you find something is missing and you don't have access to edit the page, you create a turn to another page and you add your own version of it. And then finally the person who's coming new as a developer tries to find the information across all the 72, and do you know what he ends up doing? Creating the 73rd version of it, right? And the team's cognitive load goes up. How it goes up, and I was dealing with one of the DBA developer some time back, and my machine from my local development machine, it used to take 14 seconds to return the data for me. Then I asked the DBA, hey folk, something is wrong, could you please advise me what's going on? Then the easiest way for our DBA friends to tell that, developers, you're always wrong. The driver on your system is not right, go and fix it. Then we spend some time, and every time 14 seconds I'm spending during all this investigation. Okay, my query is taking 40 seconds to return the result. Then, I don't know, magically something happened, it worked fine. And next day, I asked, hey, I didn't do anything. Did you do anything? Oh yeah, I tweaked some configuration at my end, so it started working. So you always have that kind of you need to spend a lot of time as a developer and engineer in figuring out how I will go and solve this problem. And there is always an overloaded process. This is actually a funniest thing that I would like to say about that. And in one of my previous roles, the operational governance document used to be 5 pages, easy. And over 3 months, the document became 100 pages, and version number 15. And every project or program, 30% of your time is only to fill the document. The only person that writes and reads the document is the author. Okay, nobody else. And that's the true state. And there is a new term called TBD, which we call ticket-based development. And we are a highly aligned team, organization. We are a high-performing team. We have DORA metrics on our board reports and our internal dashboards and cultural talks and CXOs and all. Everybody talks great about what they're doing. But do you know, in order to handshake with your cloud platform team, you need to raise a ticket using Jira. To talk even to your own UX team, you need to create a ticket. And the ticket has to be prioritized. And we call ourselves agile, okay, with this disconnect. And there are too many metrics. I agree, I couldn't agree more than with all of you, what you said. And recently I worked on one of the board report for an organization, and I added only one metric to the board report. I said, like, if it's going all the way up to board, please add this. What? Developers' well-being. Are they happy working here or not? And reflect upon that. No? Then all other metrics, what you have matters fine, but this is also critical for your organization if you believe the technology is powering your organization. And the beauty of this is actually your impacts of the disconnect. The agile transformation, DevOps transformation, including value stream transformation, whatever the transformation, its expectation is only on the delivery teams, not on anything else. The rest of the organization is still old school, old way of thinking. None of those things have changed, but we wanted to go faster only with delivery teams. I can't imagine how do we do that. And if any of you know, please, happy to talk to you. Funding is same, annual. Architecture design, centralized, committee-based. Governance is documentation, process-driven. And risk and audit, you hire a developer for $150,000. Instead of giving him an IDE, you give him an Excel sheet. For what? For answering the audit questions. Okay, there may be one of the big audit firms that are sitting, hey, BMK, could you please tell who has access to all the source control system? Now I have to go and export the data, and they don't want the data in that format. I have to go and fill the Excel sheet, what they give. You hired me to write code, not to fill the Excel sheet, right? Now, what happens due to this, the impacts of the disconnects, what meant to be like idea to operate, it turns like a maze. You go through so many things in your organization, you turn to spend money, and there are a lot of time that you spend. And 3 things happens because of that, okay? Number one of your CXO will come and tell that, okay, we are going to do a cost-cutting exercise. We need to reduce our investments on technology because we are spending too much of money. Business is asking a lot of questions, number one. Number 2, the business comes and tells that, hey, technology, you're spending a lot of money, we are going to change your priorities. Okay? Number 3, finally, somebody has to figure out the better way of organizing ourselves, and they announce a reorg or a restructure. Okay? So you were working on the program for 6 months, and you find out that your name is on the list who is made redundant. And you don't have a time to hand over. And just leave the laptop and go. So your organization is talking about spending too much of money. This is the reality in the organization in an enterprise. Now, this is the picture that I like very much, is the state of enterprise disconnect. This is the true reflection. If any of you say that this is not true, I'm happy to buy a beer and sit and talk about it. Probably I'll join with Brian as well, because it's rand.brianfriendster.com, right? So I'll take his company. So that is your thing. Like your internal stakeholders on the top, it could be your head of security, head of cloud platforms, head of governance. They all are happy because you're following the documentation and processes they put forth. But what is impacting is actually, that is the true state. Your engineering team, the well-being, and they are overloaded, and they can't meet the delivery timelines for your organization, and their experience and productivity is like that. The business who is sponsoring money for your initiatives, they don't get return on value. They are not happy. And customers who ultimately get the benefit for whatever that you're delivering, they don't get it on time. So your internal stakeholders happy. What is the use of it when your customer, your engineers, and your business is not happy? Now, the second question that I wanted to right answer for this, what is your organizational purpose? Okay, if you're working for somebody, e-commerce, retail, bank, financial institution, whatever it is, just write down that. Now, how to overcome the disconnect? Of course, the two known answers. We need a holistic view, an end-to-end view that we need, number one. And number two, we need to measure the end-to-end, not just measuring one portion of that organization. How fast I can approve an architectural governance matters, fine, but you need to see that how that is impacting in your overall delivery. Right. So what is there in a holistic end? What I am interested in knowing is what type of work that we do. Because an enterprise organization in technology, we do variety of work. We do delivery of features, we do risk, we do compliance, governance, security patching, updating our libraries, log4j, right? So you do some incidents, unplanned work. You accumulate some tickets, and you need to address the tickets. So you need to keep working on those things. So what kind of work that we do, and how do we do that work? Even within a team, they don't have a consensus how the work is being executed. That's a true state. So if you are, and that too given now it's hybrid, people are working remote, now the challenge is much more. So what actually Devi in your team is doing? Oh, she is an automation tester, she does something, I don't know what about it. When she comes into picture, what she does, nobody knows about it, right? So even within the team, they don't know about it. What activities that you contribute to the goal or objective? And what are the people, and what role they play in the contribution to the value? What are the artifacts that they produced? And this is another funny one. There is a solution architect sitting and filling a 400-page document. Who is the downstream person using the document to write code? Nobody. Okay, the question is now, okay, what is he doing then? And why do you do that? 400 pages document, if nobody's reading it. So you need to completely review the entire way that we operate our software delivery lifecycle, and then cut down the ways that we need to do. And nobody's reviewing. We have always done like this for last 10, 15 years as a standard kind of a question. And sometimes, I was hearing this morning, we are not Google. You need not to be Google. But you don't want to be the same as what you're doing, right? If the external change is much more faster than the internal change, we are out of the business. Now, how do we overcome the enterprise disconnect using a measure? What we want to measure, why do we measure that, and why that matters to us, and how to measure it, because there is no consistent way that we measure in the organization. We need an alignment in all of this. And what is the impact of the measure on your business or outcome? That is more important, okay? Now, I always ask this question. If you are a retailer, e-commerce, or a bank, if somebody coming and telling you that, hey, we build world-class Kubernetes cluster, brilliant. How happy your customers are? Oh, they are not happy. Because you are not getting them what they want. So you sharpen the saw to an extent that helps your capability to deliver the value for your business, rather than you claiming on a test case or on a case study on vendor product on a page saying that, hey, we do actually a Kubernetes world-class cluster, but our customers and business are not happy. We are keep polishing our internal capabilities. But if it's not contributing, probably that is something that you need to look into. And now, of course, this is a famous quote from Karan on her book, Value Stream Management. If somebody says that, oh, there is no value stream in technology, then probably if you are can't describe what we are doing, and then probably you're right. And also, if there is a product or service for a customer, there is always actually a value stream. The challenge is actually in finding out that. And I was interviewing one of the group of people, and somebody said that BMK 3 years before, we agreed on a technology solution. Great. For 3 years, we discussed, debated, litigated, disputed that decision. Fine. After 3 years, we agreed on the same decision. Okay? Now, who is getting the value and money that you spend during all these 3 years now? Sometimes it's better to go out and get it done rather than actually debating in an organization, in an enterprise. This is all true reflection of the enterprise organization. Now, how to overcome the disconnect? If you say the value stream, so that I see like this, a product design and development, and then you have a product delivery. This came up so many times in this morning presentation. So you see that where you idea to development, or you build and deploy, because most of your CI/CD capability comes later in the picture. But further left, actually, we need to also improve in our organization. How do we fund? How do we business case? How do we approve? So the product design and development and the product delivery, if it looks like this, and I came up with some of the things like, this is not so much relevant to especially the disconnect, but as a solution, I was thinking, I'm working on some of the models saying that, okay, if we talk about value stream, if you're talking about platform team, based on team topologies construct, and based on VSMC's advice, and the idea, how do we look into that? And you have an online ticketing booking system, or a staff-assisted tools, or a loyalty program, or a mobile banking. So you have a value stream, so that it has an end-to-end capability. And if you're using a platform team, they are actually the team who's providing the services using self-service capability, and that team also actually a value stream team. And the application build and run team, they own the capability to deliver on that value stream. They do feature work, they do defect, they do actually the incident and risk, patching, everything. And they also own the data. The data doesn't owned by, it's not owned by your DBAs in the central. Actually, the application value stream team, also they own the data, using the modern data concepts and data engineering practices. So the next part is actually, okay, how do we measure? If you're measuring only one capability, and there was a podcast that I was listening to, and somebody said, oh, we can deploy 200 times to production. Great. What you're deploying? The same code. Okay, if there is no change in the code, okay, you have a capability which is not aligned with your business outcome or goal, it doesn't help. Now, how to overcome the metrics? I'm a great fan of flow metrics from Dr. Mick. So I personally took that opportunity and then said, okay, how do we measure? So you need to measure like this. This is what I understand as a metrics. So the overall lead time from the idea to your done or operate, and then your flow time from the time the technology has been asked to do something and to deploy to production and operate. And the delivery lead time is the time that you commit your code and to get it to production. So if you want measuring, you need to have really a standard terminology in the organization. By the way, you can use this and everybody understand the same way, right? Because sometimes even within agile coaches, they don't agree on what is actually a velocity in the right term. But as an organization, you need to have the better terminology for that. Now, sometimes the other thing that we have actually in the type of the work that we do is actually what is a feature, what is a risk, what is a debt. We don't have a consistent definition in most of the organizations. And I think probably this is something, again, from Dr. Mick, so I would recommend that we need to define this basic construct of the type of work that we do in the organization, and then agree on what exactly we mean by that. Because as per Mick, it's all messy. They are mutually exclusive. If that is the case, you can't say that, oh, BMK, we do some work which is also a tech debt, which is also a feature work, which is kind of also an incident. You can't get into that, right? So you need to really define what is actually the primary value of the work that you're doing, so you can put in the right bucket so you can start measuring the impact of that. Now, this is the screenshot from the tool that we used in the past. It's a TaskTop tool where, the beauty of that is actually it's not measuring just about the flow, and also measuring the flow and impact on the business outcomes and the business result as well. So I see there is a value for it has a measure for your waiting time, your active time, and you also have the flow time and your flow efficiency. So it also gives you the picture connecting back to the things. And the interesting thing is also it measures the well-being of the developer and engineering team. If the developers are happy, your flow will increase. obviously. And my final question to you is how the work that you do is aligned with the purpose of the organization. So my dear friends, we talked about two things, value stream and flow metrics. And all my three questions are here. And I always see that the work that I do in my organization needs to contribute to the higher goal and objective of the organization or an enterprise that I'm working with. The day when I find that I'm not adding value, or the work that I'm doing not adding value, probably it's time to move on and do something else, which gives me more pleasure and what I love to do. And I would leave with the one final quote. This is from Adrian. And the most critical metric is that how long it takes for an innovative idea to reach your customer. If this is the only thing that you measure your entire organizational performance, I think that's better than having thousands of metrics and everybody is reporting on their own capability. And with that, my topic is how to overcome the enterprise disconnect. My name is BMK Lakshminarayanan. Thank you very much, and welcome to New Zealand when you get a chance.
To take any. Would anyone want to chat with BMK about anything? New Zealand, Wellington, Christchurch.
Question about New Zealanders are most welcome. Yeah, please. Okay, rather I would ask this question. Whether the presentation resonate with any of you? Better than that, with a show of hands, can we do a round of applause for VSMC for doing this? The sound also indicates. Thank you. And the reason that I gave this presentation, the title is that because personally working for an end user organization, this is what we tend to see. And most of the time, the CXOs, that they put the culture on the wall, which doesn't help. You need to have a culture how every developer engineer is behaving. And when it talks about terminology, okay, I'll give you a few tips. This is something, it's a crazy idea. You may or may not like it, okay, given that I have 7 minutes more now. So, two things. I was talking to my boss once, and I said, keep 2 jars in every developer's table, okay? And they have multiple meetings they go to and all they do, right? And you give them some pebbles. And give them freedom. Whenever they think that they are doing an activity which is adding value to them and also organization, let them put that pebble in one jar. And whenever they are doing something which they think it's not adding value, put that in another jar. And instead of using a performance metrics, compare that jar at the end of the quarter or a month, whatever the frequency that you agree upon, and see that whether the developer is, they think, are they adding value or not. It's not about them, it's about actually the activity that you assign to them. Is it making them really boring or not, right? So that is one thing. And coming back to the terminology, we widely use term called RT1, RPO, right? The RT1, RPO, you know, everybody? We use, of course, modern term MTTR. So RTO, the recovery time objective, and then recovery point objective. Some of the ITSM people, they still use this heavily. And I asked, how many of the folks then really know the meaning of it? I said, as they enter the work using the security gate, and you let them in if they answer correctly. Okay? Otherwise, you teach them. Because most of the organization, enterprise, and when there is a high attrition rate in an enterprise, they don't have a consistent practices. And every time, and there is not, as I said, like, you know, there is no single place that they can go and find the right information. Okay, what we mean by RPO, nobody knows about it. What do you mean by RTO? Nobody knows about it. What is the MTTR for this critical application? We don't know. Okay, how many applications we have in enterprise? Oh, sorry, our cataloging system is really poor. We don't have that. And when flow metrics, I'm helping with one of the customer at the moment, and I got an estimate that to connect a ServiceNow database to flow metrics, it would take 6 months. And to do that, I need to raise 4 tickets. Okay, one is to internal team, the other one is the team which owns the tool, the other one is to somebody, okay, who's doing the firewall and networking side, and the number 4 is for my product manager because he wants to know what I'm doing. Okay, so there are four tickets for that. Yeah, sorry, you were asking some question. No, this is great. Okay. It 6 months is the process. Yeah, the process to go through. Yeah, yeah. Operate. Yeah. So I'll share my experience. I am not an expert in that area, but I'll share my experience. Most of the enterprises that we see are, I mean, in my experience, that we don't have a holistic view or a measure from start to finish. We don't have that. So the business is coming up with an idea, and they have their own business case model, and they have a funding model, and which all takes its own time. And there is, interestingly, there is no measure for that, and there is no visibility of that as well, how the work is happening. If you are following the Making Work Visible by Dominica, and that work is not visible. So technology doesn't even know what's happening in business, and most of the time. So the message is gone. It's like a black box for them. The same thing that happens within technology, for example, the compliance project, one of the projects that I worked, and 2 months before, they came and said that, hey, BMK, you stop whatever you're doing, okay, and do this work. Why? Because it's governance compliance project. So we have a hard date, okay, means, okay, when did we get to know about it? Oh, we knew about it last year. But why just now? Oh, it took actually a while to figure out how we are going to do this and who's going to do it. So it means if you're really measuring the clock from the start to finish, and that's where I like really flow time. So you put the flow time wherever you think is actually common sense for you in your organization. It could be funding approval, it could be the technology when the work is taking, or it could be the idea. So you can measure from where you are. But it depends on the organization, also the culture of the organization. Because sometimes executives, they don't want to be measured. With that, thank you everyone for that.